Magazine's hung up in my pocket there. Not good, right? What's up, crew? It's Chris with CloverTac. Welcome back to the channel, and really excited about this one today. We're out on the range and going to be taking a look at a production model of the Avidity Arms PD10. This a semi-automatic handgun chambered in 9mm. Now, before we get too deep off into the weeds on this, I need to point out that this little handgun been a long time in the making, designed by a well-known firearms instructor with decades of experience in the industry. So a lot of the design elements, a lot of the features and whatnot for this handgun come from his experiences and what he believes are optimal features, let's just say, for a concealed carry handgun of this type. Now, we're going to take a look at it today. Of course, I'm going to give you my thoughts, the good, the bad, the indifferent. But in order to do that, we've got to pull some triggers and put some rounds downrange. So let's go. All right, let's start things off and have a little fun. About 10 yards downrange, I've got some steel. So we're going to put some rounds from the PD10 on that steel. Using today some 124 grain Igman ammunition from our friends at Global Ordnance. And during this, we will be doing a mag swap. I do have another magazine in my pocket. So let's see what she does as far as cycling with this Igman ammunition. Here we go. Magazine's hung up in my pocket there. Not good, right? Here we go, finish it out. All right, so ran that Igman ammunition fine. I did fumble a little bit with the magazines there in my pocket, but I don't have just a whole lot of time with this platform, so it's kind of understandable. This is a phenomenal looking handgun, I will say that. Man, just the design, the overall aesthetics of it and stuff, the lines on it, everything else, really good looking handgun for sure. One of the things I'm not a big fan of on this already is how thin it is. And I understand why it's that way. As far as it being thin and the profile, that's going to lend itself to smaller hands, I think, probably. But also for a concealed carry aspect, not being anytime you can cut down the bulk, I think that's probably a plus. So I get why, just not sure I'm the biggest fan. Also, with it being thin like that, you're talking single stack magazines. Now, I often will carry a 5-shot revolver, so I don't really subscribe to the whole thing of you've got to have 18 jillion rounds in a magazine for your personal defense firearm. I think 5, 6, 10 rounds, anything in that range is going to be sufficient most times. What I do want to do is get this back on the bench, set up some paper. We'll talk a little bit about the trigger. We'll talk a little bit about the sights on this thing. And we'll put some rounds on paper and see how she does. Let's put some rounds on paper here from 25 yards back. And quick side note, going to be using some of these targets here that I found. And these things are pretty cool. They're double-sided. So you've got the silhouette on one side, the bullseyes on the other, and these things are made out of cardboard, which are pretty doggone cool. So if you're interested in seeing more on those, there will be a link, of course, down below. Yeah, let's do this. Gonna be resting up on the multi-cal steady rest here. Try to get the best possible shots we can get. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I don't think for 25 yards from a defensive handgun, that group is altogether terrible. Do want to talk a little bit about the trigger on this thing. For sure, the trigger is, I would say, for a striker fired handgun of this type, of this nature, I'd say the trigger is maybe average or a little better. It is definitely a tactile trigger, I guess is how I would describe it. And I really like that aspect of the trigger in general. One of the things that I really find amazing with this thing is that front sight. Man, that sight is bright, it's visible. I love it. It glows in the dark, which is even better. Typically, I'm not a fan of blacked out sights. The rear is a blacked out sight. But the contrast between the rear sight and that front one is pretty doggone amazing. Now, if you're not big into the open sights, or you need optics, well, the Avidity Arms PD10 does come optic ready, so you're good to go in that scenario as well. As far as reliability with the PD10, it did well with that cheaper Igman 124 grain ammo, so I think that it gets the check. As far as accuracy, again, decent group size at 25 yards, and I am not a master by any means with this. As I talked about earlier, it is thin, and so it is a little awkward for me in the grip. So to be able to put down that kind of group, I would say check as far as accuracy as well. And then, like we talked about at the top of the video, there's a lot of features and a lot of thought that has been put into this thing by an actual firearms instructor. And although those things may be subjective in nature when it comes to the ideal concealed carry handgun, it definitely checks those boxes. So if you're looking for all of those boxes to be checked, well, it fits the bill. If you have shot the PD10 from Avidity Arms before, or if you own one, or maybe you just got questions or comments, jump down below and let's talk about it. As for this one, though, we are done. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And until next time, don't forget to chain fire freedom.